So strange to watch play out. It seems like the Diddy thing was like an Epstein type compromise deal where he had, whether he was doing it himself, conceivably, people want to think that he's attached to some intelligence agency or something like that. I think he's a gangster who made $1 billion and knew how to control people by compromising them. That's what I think. Whether or not he had help, I don't know. Whether or not he shared some of that information with people so they knew they had compromising stuff on people, I don't know. But clearly he was doing it for his own jollies too. There was something sick about it.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is that people in the music and entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was like abusing, kids basically. And yet they still fed him kids. And like, where's the accountability?
There had to be rumors. There had to be. They
had to know.
Yeah.
They had to know.
Cat Williams is talking about it on
exactly.
Yeah, on that.
Does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King and she not ask him one question about the intersection between him and Aaliyah and Robert Kelly? This is insane that people keep refusing. I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, Robert Kelly, Sean Combs have one person in common professionally and privately. Sean Carter. This has been a fist of tyranny that has been punching through. That changes now, Sean. You have no choice. That Dream Hampton was being financed and ran by Sean Carter. They were able to go and get all of these witnesses because he was there with Robert.
Welcome back to Celebrial. Because the timeline is acting like Elon Musk and 50 Cent just blew the roof off the conversation. And the new angle is this. Diddy isn't the final boss. He's the smokescreen. Now, before anybody starts typing proof, in all caps, let's be clear. What's moving online right now is a mix of claims, rumors, and people connecting dots off old clips and vibes.
Suing Tony Busby, Spiro is a partner, and Alex Spiro is Jay-Z's personal lawyer.
Oh, so it's probably Jay-Z then that's doing the suing.
Of course they'd use Kevin's name, but it ain't Kevin. Why is Alex Spiro popping up everywhere?
What do you think is going on in Hollywood right now? What are you hearing? Because I'm hearing
mass panic. Mass panic.
So because no one's talking publicly.
No, it can't. That's why they came up with the story. Well, there's a party inside the Diddy party. And I went to the first party, but I left early. I never made it to Diddy After Dark. There were public relations teams right after Diddy got arrested running around telling everyone to say that.
Of course.
The question is this. If all you went to was the first party and you didn't know anything about the After Dark, why would you say, I left early? Why wouldn't you just say you left when the party ended?
Yeah, exactly.
Because how would you know that there was another party if you weren't informed?
Exactly.
If you went to the Diddy party and nothing happened and it was the first party, your speech wouldn't be, oh, well, I only went to the first party. Right. I didn't go to the after party. You wouldn't say that because you wouldn't have known about it. You would say, I don't know what anybody's talking about. I went to Diddy's party. It was a white party. It was dancing. It was wild. But at the end, we all went home.
Right.
That's not what y'all are saying.
Nope.
You're saying, I didn't go to the second party. I only went to the first. The only thing you're proving is that you're hiding being there.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have known about it.
Nothing here is presented as confirmed fact unless it's been publicly verified. We're talking about what the internet is saying and why it's spreading. So here's the truth bomb the timeline keeps repeating. 50's been hinting for months that the real story isn't just one man's chaos, it's the system that stays quiet around it. He drops his documentary, frames it like nobody wants to speak, and the message is basically, silence makes the whole culture look complicit. And then the chatter takes a darker turn. Because one of the biggest rumors floating around is this hidden camera idea. People online claiming there was leverage footage, not just party footage. They talk like it was insurance, like a pressure system, like the kind of thing that keeps powerful people obedient, without anyone ever having to say a word. Again, allegations, not proven.
Think about this. Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him. And so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened, and yet they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know.
But you already know how the internet works. Once a rumor has a storyline, it grows legs. Now here's where Elon gets dragged into it. The claim isn't that Elon is running Hollywood. The claim is that Elon changes the equation because he owns the platform where years of celebrity conversations happened. Twitter era, DMs, deleted posts, the messy in-between. And people are treating that like the receipt vault. The idea that if someone really wanted to flip narratives overnight, the platform data is where the paper trail lives. And that's why you're seeing the pyramid theory go viral. Bottom level, the headline names everybody already argues about: Jay-Z, Beyonce.
At a Diddy party, there could only be two reasons: money or sex. That's all that happens at Diddy parties: money and sex.
Cassie has turned over substantial amounts of evidence to the feds. I'm told that after Cassie had a long conversation with Blank, I have to protect this person. They're going through a lot right now. And her lawyers, she finally was convinced to give up the videotapes and audio recordings that contain.
Middle level, the alleged gatekeepers, the people fans claim control access, endorsements, and who gets protected. Top level, the idea that influence isn't just in studios and boardrooms. It's in image making, connections, and who gets to stay clean when everyone else gets dragged. Is it a reach? Possibly. But it's spreading because it gives people a map. And that's the key. The timeline doesn't want a single villain anymore. It wants an ecosystem, a structure, a reason why certain stories explode, and certain names stay untouched. So now the real question isn't even, what did Diddy do? It's, who's been sitting around the edges of this for years?
Cat Williams calls out Bishop T.D. Jakes and watches T.D. Jakes and Gino Jennings' response.
I came in this business saying I was going to expose. When I talked about Michael Jackson, when I talked about R. Kelly, they canceled me for these things because why would you talk about another black dude? Race is not where the line is drawn. It's God's side and the other side. And we don't care nothing about the other side. Period. All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. T.G. Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all.
And what happens if the silence finally breaks? When Elon sat down with Joe Rogan, he didn't just hint. He called out the gap between what people say publicly and what they didn't say when it mattered.
People in the music and entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was like abusing kids, basically, and yet they still fed him kids.
Cat Williams is talking about it on
Exactly.
on that podcast.
But like, who's feeding him the kids?
And what videos do they have of these people when they're willing to keep quiet about all this? How many people were compromised?
And he brought up Jennifer Lopez, not as a politics debate, but as a credibility test. If you were that close back then, where was the warning? Where was the alarm? And the implication was nowhere. That's why the internet lit up, because it forces one ugly question. If someone was that close and never spoke up, what does that mean? Either they didn't know, which a lot of people find hard to believe, or they knew something and stayed quiet.
T.D. Jakes.
Man, what I think about it is this, when I grew up in the church, the sinners was not supposed to have the same atmosphere with the saints. You had to be able to separate the two. So I'm looking at him as a saint going to a party that ain't nothing but sin, drinking, maybe fornication, man on man, woman on woman, he on she. but maybe he there to lay some hands on somebody. Maybe he there to save some souls. I know he got a contract with Revolt, so I'm just like, it's just real strange that he would be found at any kind of Diddy party or any kind of place with Diddy unless it's in a business atmosphere.
And if they stayed quiet, the next question is obvious. Why? Fear, loyalty, image, protection. And protection of who? Now here's where the pyramid talk starts climbing. Level 1 is where the timeline always goes first. Jay-Z and Beyonce. And yeah, you might be thinking only level 1? Just wait. Because Jaguar Wright went on Piers Morgan and made heavy claims about Jay-Z, Diddy, and how deep the connections go. Then people started saying the episode got pulled fast, wiped, buried, hard to find. That part is widely debated online, but it's what's fueling the narrative.
Industry is a monster. It's the same monster that these Me Too bitches was trying to tell you about. But they hate the monster for how it fucks. And I hate that monster for how it eats. But my God, man, it's the same monster. When I quit the show, all my friends would say, well, fuck them, Dave. Why don't you just do Chappelle's show at another network? Yeah. And why doesn't a slave run from one plantation to another plantation? Because the master over there might be nicer. My God, man, I was trapped. You know what? Tell you the truth. I've even thought about coming back and doing another Chappelle show. Well, but if I do, I can't call it Chappelle's show because my name and likeness is being used by them in perpetuity.
She also raised a question that's been floating for years. How does Jay-Z sit down with Gayle King on CBS and never get pressed on certain long-running rumors and industry ties? Jaguar used extreme language, calling Diddy and Jay-Z monsters, framing their influence like it's been crushing the industry for decades.
I think he was going to these parties. I think that he's going to the Diddy parties, bruh. If he's going, well, we know he's going to the Diddy parties, and I know that I know what usually happens at the Diddy party, or what we told us happened at the Diddy parties. Maybe he need to see it for himself, man. Maybe he need to go there and really be involved in some things that could help save some individuals while they going to those parties.
Then she pushed into the Aaliyah theory that refuses to die, implying Jay-Z played a role in how things unfolded, tied to who benefited afterward. None of this is proven, and it's important to say that clearly. But online, silence never reads neutral. It reads like a choice. Then another detail had people side-eyeing everything. Once Diddy got charged and the lawsuits started stacking up, one name instantly raised eyebrows: Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's personal lawyer.
Favorite memory working with Diddy?
Personally, I've got to tell you, he really is a major star in this film tonight. He's his spokesman all the way through. I met him before I ever knew of him. I met him when he was 21 years old. And when we met, he played me Craig Mack Flavor in Your Ear. He played me 3 cuts from the forthcoming Notorious B.I.G. album. And we talked for hours and hours about music. And I poured into his dream. And I financed Bad Boy Records. And we had an incredible run, an incredible period.
Reports and online chatter started asking the obvious question: why is Jay-Z's attorney suddenly showing up anywhere near Diddy's legal orbit? And the theory people keep repeating is simple: control the narrative before more names get dragged into the light. Because if Diddy ever talks, the internet believes a lot of powerful people could get pulled down with him. Coincidence? Maybe. But once the internet starts lining up timelines, they say the pattern feels uncomfortable. Now, the pyramid shifts to level 2, where it stops being about fame and starts being about leverage. Oprah Winfrey and Clive Davis. With Oprah, critics point to proximity. Harvey Weinstein photos, events, public praise, even while whispers existed in the industry. And that's where the debate comes from. Someone with that platform could have forced a spotlight early, but didn't. In internet logic, silence gets read as protection. Then people bring up the South Africa school controversy. Early allegations, public fallout, firings, official statements. Even though actions were taken, critics still argue parts never fully added up, which is why it keeps resurfacing in conversations about oversight and what powerful people didn't see. Add resurfaced photos and old rumors, and people describe Oprah as quiet power, not viral power, but the kind where one call shapes who gets booked, who gets buried, and who gets labeled difficult. And then there's Clive Davis, a legendary gatekeeper figure in music. Decades at the top, careers launched, industry influence that people online love to frame as bigger than any one artist. That's exactly why people don't treat Clive like background noise. Suge Knight has been saying for years that Clive and Diddy weren't just mentor and protege, and that Clive allegedly described the bond as deeper than business. No public proof has ever been laid out. It's a claim that keeps getting recycled because it fits the bigger storyline people are building. Diddy didn't rise alone. And anytime reporters try to press Clive about Diddy, fans point to those tense moments, the dodges, the discomfort, the non-answers. Not evidence, but the internet treats every awkward pause like a tell. A clip becomes a signal. A reaction becomes a receipt. Then comes the Whitney Houston angle, the story the internet refuses to let rest. People keep circling her final days, the people around her, the behind-the-scenes conflicts, and whether the official version explains everything. Family comments over the years have only kept that suspicion alive, and it feeds one blunt question online. How does Clive carry decades of heavy rumors and still never catch consequences? That's where the fall guy theory gets louder. The idea that Diddy is taking the heat in public while the real gatekeepers stay protected, operating in spaces headlines can't reach. And now we hit the top of the pyramid. And this is the name that shocks people every time it gets mentioned. Bishop T.D. Jakes. Yeah, a pastor. A spiritual authority. And yet 50 Cent has kept poking that name for months, keeping it in the mix like it belongs in the conversation. The theory people push is simple. If influence reaches the pulpit, then this isn't just celebrity mess, it's an ecosystem. The framing is that Diddy needed legitimacy, cover, respectability. Somebody trusted enough to stand near him and make him look clean by association. And that's where some online narratives try to place Jakes. People even point to how Jakes appears in certain documentary contexts, placed at interesting moments, and they swear it feels intentional. Not proof, just pattern spotting. And then Cat Williams gets pulled back in because he said 2024 would be the year everything gets exposed, no matter who you are. And the internet treated it like a forecast. And when TD Jakes finally got confronted about the Diddy Link talk online, his response is what made it go nuclear. He didn't give the kind of clean, simple denial people expect. He brushed it off with "keep it moving," and then added comments that some viewers interpreted like, even if something were true, repentance exists. And then he said he didn't have anything to repent for in this situation. That's why it exploded. Because to the public, it didn't sound like clarity. It sounded like deflection. Jaguar Wright poured gasoline on it, framing the whole thing as, if a figure like that was ever around Diddy's party circle, there are only two motives: money or access. She describes those environments as leverage zones and claims there's video and audio floating around. Powerful people caught on tape doing things they never wanted tied to their name. Whether any of that holds up is a separate question. But once the public believes receipts exist, the fear stops being the rumor and becomes the possibility of footage. Jaguar then went further, saying multiple men have come forward with stories that, in their view, connect Jakes to that world. No proof shown publicly, just alleged accounts and insiders claiming legal moves are happening behind the scenes. And it spreads because it matches the pattern people keep shouting: power protects power, until it can't. Then Gene Deal added his angle too, questioning why a religious leader would even be near parties people describe as anything but clean. His point was simple. It's hard to explain that proximity unless you're either endorsing the environment or participating in it. And he hinted that if tapes ever surface, the conversation shifts from speculation to something much more serious. And that's the real threat hanging over everything right now. Not opinions, not debates, proof. Now zoom out, because this doesn't stop at one corner of the industry. When Elon Musk sat down with Joe Rogan, they weren't just trading celebrity headlines, they were talking power networks. Why high-level names move the way they move. Elon's framing wasn't policy. It was fear. Fear of exposure. Fear of what happens when the wrong door opens. Rogan brought up Reid Hoffman and asked if he seemed uncomfortable. Elon gave a one-word answer, yes. And then they compared the whole structure to an Epstein-style compromise model. The idea that once you catch someone in a compromising situation, you don't have to win arguments anymore. You control them. And that's the core of this entire pyramid narrative people keep pushing. Not fame, not talent, control. Once you start viewing it like that, a lot of the industry behavior people side-eye begins to make sense to the internet. Why certain people never speak. Why certain stories vanish. Why certain names stay protected, no matter how loud the noise gets. Dave Chappelle said it differently, but the message hit the same. He's described the industry like a trap. Not just contracts, but control. And when people asked why he didn't just take his show somewhere else, he compared it to running from one plantation to another. Different master, same chains. So if someone that successful felt boxed in, what does that say about everybody else trying to survive inside the machine? And no matter what you believe, one thing is clear. This story isn't fading. More names will get dragged into daylight. More rumors will surface. More untouchables will suddenly look touchable. So here's the real question. Do you think TD Jakes is actually the top of this pyramid, or just another layer hiding whoever sits above him? Drop your take in the comments. And if you thought this was wild, the next video goes deeper into the names people think could be next. Meek Mill, Ashton Kutcher, Naomi Campbell. Because the list keeps growing, and the internet swears the walls are closing in. We'll be here for every twist as it unfolds. See you in the next one.